Everybody, welcome back to Just Keep Parenting, where the goal is to do just that, right? None of us are perfect caregivers, but the goal behind this YouTube channel is just to remind us of the little things that we do that make a huge difference in the children's lives that we work with. So we've been studying from Easy to Love, Difficult to Discipline. And so today we are looking at where we shine our light, right? Dr. Bailey, the author, talks a lot about how where we shine our light, we get that in return, right? And so as we remember back to the 7 powers of self-control, those are videos that are that we did in the past. We're going to focus on the power of attention today, right? And that is what we focus on, we get more of, right? So that idea of shining a flashlight. And so as we praise children and adults, I was noticing on LinkedIn, somebody said, you know what, this works for children, but it also works for adults. And sure it does, right? Because our bodies have grown up, but the principles really are the same, right? So if we look at it, when we talk about praise, it's like turning on a flashlight, right, in a dark room. We value where we point the light. I know when I turn my flashlight on in the wee hours of the morning as I get up to go to the restroom, right, I'm pointing it to the bathroom because that's where I want the illumination to happen so that I don't trip over anything, right? And so if our focus is on being good, right, in quotations, we teach that in order for them, the children, to please others, right, that's how they feel worthy, right? The implication is that we want them to feel special, right? And in order to feel special, they need to outshine, right? Their light needs to be brighter than others. And then this creates a better than, less than orientation in them, right? And we have to remember that one of the powers is talking about connectedness, right? It's not talking about I'm better than you or you're better than me, but what do we have in common, right? What brings us together? And so as we devalue, right, equality, we remove the ability to truly join and connect with each other, right? And so, it's such a hard thing to do because we want our kids to be wonderful kids, right? But at the expense of having somebody else feel like they're not as wonderful, right? Sometimes the question that Dr. Bailey asked was kind of poignant in my brain. She said, have you ever wondered why the kid with the outstanding grades or the exceptional cheerleader or the girl with the perfect family feels isolated and sometimes commits suicide to ease the pain of loneliness? Right? Because we're trying to make our kids feel special rather than connected. And if we can help them understand by noticing, right, we've described those things that we can do rather than judging. We need to be noticing what they're doing, right? And then hopefully we'll ease that pain of loneliness as we continue to connect. I was in Phoenix a few weeks ago, and one of the things that we were talking about in one of our meetings was the connectedness, right? And we use this sign a lot with the children. It's called the Me Too sign, right? But we have chosen to call it the connection sign. And so when children say, well, I'm going to have turkey for Thanksgiving, instead of, the 20 children saying, me too, they just give this sign, right? And then I know, or whoever they're connecting with says, yeah, me too, I have a connection with you, right? And I love to watch that in children because they have a lot of connections and our focus is on making connections, right? So if we can do that in our families, if we can do that in the world, can you imagine? We would have so many more connections rather than I'm better than you, I'm worse than you, those types of things that happen in our world. So as we accentuate children's strengths, we teach them about their abilities. If we encourage their contributions, we teach them how important it is to share their gifts, right? Encouragement that is grounded in the power of unity, which is what we're talking about, the connectedness, reminds us to connect people with each other and their accomplishments, right? So as we join, we feel connected and interdependence is valued. So the other day I saw a child, and he's had a struggle making friends in the classroom, and we've talked about peer entry skills, right? How do we go and what are the words that we say to be able to help our children figure that out? We had just talked about in class with some of the teachers on we're really quite good as adults when we are trying to teach our toddler how to speak, right? We want to show them this is a spoon, sweetie, and I'm going to put some applesauce on the spoon. Now open your mouth and I'm going to stick it in your mouth. So yummy, right? We do lots of verbiage, right? We have lots of words that we use with those kids. But unfortunately, that kind of stops as our kids start to get older. When they're learning how to walk, we're cheering for them, we're rocking them on, right? And then that there again starts to stop as they get older. So as we think about these social things that children, the words that they need to use to be able to join a group, right? We were talking about that, how we need to say, this is, if you want to go play with somebody, these are the words that you use. See, look over there. They're looking over here at you. That means they might want to play with you too, right? So giving them, describing those things so that it's not so hard. Go play with them, honey. Just go ask them. What does that look like? What does that sound like to them? And so as he was looking at these boys, I happened to be in the booth, and he was watching these boys, and you could see him. He turned his head. He has glasses on. He's watching because the two boys are dancing at the carpet, right? And you can see, I want to enter this group, but I don't know how. So it was hilarious. He just goes over there and he grabs their hands and he just starts dancing with them. Luckily, these two boys are very forgiving, and they're like, okay, we'll just dance with him, right? Some of my children wouldn't have been that forgiving, right? And so we went and chatted with him later, and I just said, I saw that you wanted to dance. You wanted to join with those two boys and dance. He said, yeah, I did. I said, and sometimes that surprises people. So if you just use your words, you can say, can I dance with you? I said, tell me, ask me if you can. I don't want to dance with you, Miss Dory. I said, I know, but we're just going to practice for later. Oh, can I dance with you? I said, yeah, those are the words that you need to use, right? Now, I haven't seen him do that, but he could have done it, and I might just have not seen him. But helping them find those connections and have the words to be able to do it, right? So as we look at our children, right, these are some categories that we might notice, right, in our kids, right? And this, the specificity, it's always hard for me to say, the specificity of descriptions, right? So let me read them to you. They are from the book, and they are on page 134. So notice your child's assets and strengths, right? Bring them to their attention. So this is one that she's using. Ashley, you planned the tasks involved in making that diorama. That took organizational skills. You have them. Look at you. Oh, sorry. Rewind, Miss Dory. Look at you. You're eating with your spoon. At the game, I noticed how you were looking up while you were dribbling and passing the ball, right? So there again, there's no judgment involved in those. All they are is describing, remember the camera, describing what you're seeing. The second one is notice your child's efforts, progress, and accomplishments. And there again, bring them to the attention of the child. You've been working on your science project all week. You're putting a lot of time and concentration into it. Snap. You did it. You went potty on the big potty. Good for you. Remember, that's a tag that we don't always have to use. But if we're feeling like I need to, I'm coming out of that part where I just want to give a lot of good for yous and way to goes, right? But we're judging when we do that. So that's a tag that you can stick on the end, but we need to be careful and not use them very often. Let's see, you hung up all the clothes that had been thrown on the floor. I bet that will give you more space in your room. Snap. The next one, notice a child's contributions to others. Highlight these contributions publicly. Casey, you held the door open for Grandma. That was really helpful. So there again, that was helpful is a tag that teaches the children that it was a good thing to do, right? But it's not necessarily a judgmental thing. And so there again, we want to get rid of those tags as much as we can. But if we're in that spot where we feel like we need to just push them forward a little bit more. You offered Molly a cookie. That was thoughtful, right? So you're helping them describe what those actions were. You played quietly and let mom and dad sleep a little longer. That was considerate, right? So she goes on to say, if we want kind, caring children, notice the helpful acts your children perform and announce their contributions publicly as well. This can be done in several ways. Here are some suggestions. At dinner, take time to share one way that each person in the family was helpful that day. Keep a list on the refrigerator that says, I noticed blank. Any family member who sees a caring act could write it down or have somebody else write it down for them. Before bedtime, the family can read these contributions together. And then the last one is once a week or month, have a loving family party and play kindness charades. Family members can act out kindnesses they received from others, and the observers can try to guess who the helpful person was. So here's the basic formula that we've been talking about, right? You describe the child's actions. That was helpful. That was considerate. That was kind, right? So if we do this regularly, my friends, we're going to train ourselves, right? Because that's where I find the problem mostly, is trying to remember this, right? And then our children are going to see the positive aspects of the world, right? The glass half full rather than the glass half empty. So just as we label the objects for children who are learning to speak, right? Mommy has a spoon. We must label the helpful actions, the considerate actions. So when the child learned to say spoon, woohoo, right? When your child grows into a compassionate human being, you will feel blessed and the world will be blessed, right? So there's one other thing that she talks about is noticing your child's willingness to cooperate when you set limits, right? So this goes back and kind of just puts everything that we've been talking about into the cauldron and mixing it up, right? So set limits, remember, with an assertive command or two positive choices, right? If your child chooses to obey, celebrate her choice by noticing her actions, right? So here's one of the things that she talks about. Clearing the table. Mom moves closer to Carrie, waits for her to look at her and says, Carrie, take your dishes off the table and put them in the sink. Carrie stacks her dishes neatly to take them to the sink in one trip. Mom notices this and encourages her by saying, look at you, you stacked your dishes carefully so you could take them in one trip. That is efficient, right? So there again, helping our children figure out how to be kind, to be considerate, right, as we accentuate their strengths with what we're doing. So remembering that we want to let our light shine, we want to let their light shine, right? But we're going to shine and get more of what we want. And so we have to focus on that, right? If we're focusing on the negative, we're going to get more of the negative, right? If we're focusing on the judging, we're going to get a child who tends to judge more, right? So as we think about it this week, where's your focus, right? Where's your light shining on that child, on yourself as well, right? So thank you for joining us today as we continue to keep on parenting and keep on working with children to make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us.